My name's Craig. Welcome to the Axminster Skill Centre. This is the first in a series of bandsaw videos. And this video will largely cover the craft range of bandsaws to get the budding woodworker, the DIYer, if you like, the home workshop up and running with their bandsaw. We will cover the trade machines in a later video, but stay tuned for that. Keep in touch so you can watch that one too. Some of you may have kind of been researching into bandsaws, and it's a minefield. There are so many bandsaws out there, and you think that which size would suit the work that I've got in mind. Now that's a question that I've asked many customers over the years, is which bandsaw do they think would work for them? And the question that I ask first is, what's the biggest piece of timber you see yourself handling? Customer comes back and says, oh, I cut a lot of 4-inch stuff. Well, I'll get a machine with a 4-inch depth of cut. Well, you run the risk then of running the machine to the maximum a lot. You know, people think that they've got this depth of cut thing here, the height underneath the guides, and if it's a 5-inch machine, 5-inch under the guides, 125 mil, then I can do that all the time. It's going to handle it, but that's a machine at its absolute maximum. So the idea of this video is just to help you select the machine for you. So we're going to start with this small benchtop craft machine here. All right, it's a machine which is the smallest one in our range. Maximum depth of cut of 80 millimeters. Now that sounds like an awful lot. It's over 3 inches. It's not a machine that would like to handle that 80 millimeter timber all the time, trust me. What this machine is very good at, it's for the small workshop. It's light, it's portable, it's benchtop. You can take it to the job, actually, something that I've done on a number of occasions. Yes, I do actually have one of these, as well as a bigger bandsaw. I take this to the job. Recently fitted some engineered oak flooring in my dining room, and I had some intricate cuts to do on the around the fireplace. So I took my bandsaw to the job and made those cuts beautifully, and even fitting skirting boards as well. I had some skirting to cut, so thin material, say 18 to 20 mil, but I had to scribe in a corner, but on a 45 to match in a window seat that I made. Tilted this table. You know, a lot of bandsaws have this tilt table feature. If I can find a knob, there it is. Have this tilt table feature. You know, where the table tips over to 45 degrees. All bandsaws have that, but it must come down to a positive stop. And you'll see, and one thing to look at when you're looking for a bandsaw is make sure they've got that stop bolt underneath. So when you tilt the table or take the table off, maybe for blade change, boom, it comes down to that positive stop position. All of the Axminster ones have that. So this little bandsaw, it really does suit some of the work that I do. However, it's limited in size, not only for its height under the guides or depth of cut, as some people call it, but its throat as well. Now the throat is the distance from blade to the body of the machine here. Quite often it's very much like, very similar to the diameter of the wheel here, just with a little bit lost there because of this guarding we've got to have. A machine that's great for sizing material like this, for instance. You know, set your fence down there, drop the guides down and make sure that you're getting complete support there. And great for say cutting pen blanks, for getting material like this, cutting it down into squares for you pen turners. Terrific, absolutely good as well for small toys, just general shape cutting in thin material. What it wants to do regularly is material of about 25 millimeters, about 1 inch in thickness. So, you know, making something like this, you know, thin material, shapes to cut, very, very simple shapes. There's no big twists round. Even this little star in the bottom here, was easily handled on a machine like this. But a machine like this has its limitations. Like I said, not only because of depth of cut, you've got the throat width as well. Now, if we're trying, and it will handle ply, you know, if we wanted to be cutting curves, let's take the fence off, want it to be cutting curves, it's very thin material, ply. This is a template, you can see what it is, a rocking horse shape there. Now, it's definitely got the capacity under the guides to cut the ply. But there's some big sweeping curves in this, and we're really soon going to be struggling to cut those curves because we're hitting the side of the machine. We've not got enough throat because it's a very small wheel diameter. So let's go up a machine. Let's have a look at the middle machine in our line of craft machines here. All right. So we've got a machine now that has greater height under the guides. So it's going to handle the thicker, chunkier material more regularly. This is over 4 inches under the guides, this one, 110 millimeters. So it will handle, say, a wood turning blank, like this, you know. It's just over about a 60 millimeter piece of ash to take into the round to put on your lathe. We've also easily got the capability to cut the thin ply, but we've got a bigger throat now to help me swing this material around without colliding with the side of the machine. Okay? So a couple of things to look at on bandsaws as well. I mean, you've got to think of, right, I want to be cutting a lot of 4 inch, you've got to buy in maybe a little bit of extra capacity. Get a machine that cuts 6 inch, 150 millimeters. If you cut a lot of 150 millimeters, say you want to do some resawing, you know, you want to chop a board down the length to book match it, something that's really quite tall, then you might need to go up again in a machine. But it's important that you look at the basics of the machine as well. So we're looking at a nice, solid, rigid spine. These are a curved spine on the back here, and as well as looking quite nice in the workshop, it's a very, very solid piece. Bandsaws are very simple machines, really. Solid steel spines. You've got 2 boxes, again, thick gauge steel, that's important. Heavy machines, I know you don't want them too heavy if they're benchtop and you've got to move them about, but you do want some weight to the machine. And a thick gauge steel on the whole frame is important. Cast iron tables, they're just about all bandsaws machines come with cast iron tables, although worryingly I did see some bandsaws for sale in a supermarket with the plastic tables and pressed tin tables. Well, all the cutting force on a bandsaw is down towards that table. That's a good thing. It's one of the things that makes a bandsaw kind of safe, because there's no cutting force coming towards the operator like you get maybe on a table saw. And it's what makes a bandsaw a good first cutting tool in the workshop. It's quiet. It's relatively safe as long as you follow the kind of safety guidelines, obviously. Small footprint. They don't take up a lot of room in the in the workshop. And if you've got one on a set of wheels, you know, you can easily be moved around and pushed out of the way if you need to. You know, they're a godsend. If I was only allowed, or only had the money or the space for one cutting tool, or even just one machine in my workshop, it would be a bandsaw, hands down. Definitely a bandsaw. Just incredibly versatile. Cutting thin material, cutting straight. I mean, some of these machines with the right blade, with a wider blade and a quality blade, cutting veneers. Right, against a good rigid fence, again that's something to look out for. A good rigid fence which locks down quickly, easily. You've got adjustment on it so you can get it in line with the blade to achieve this sort of cut. Now, I didn't think that bandsaws really cut that precisely. They were fantastic curve cutting machines, but how well did they cut straight? Well, I was proved wrong many years ago by one of my old colleagues. They introduced me to really good quality blades, and it revolutionised my bandsaw and bandsaw thinking. They are so useful. So hardwoods, softwoods, plywoods, deep cuts, shallow cuts, curve cuts, straight cuts in wood. What about, you know, plastic? A machine that can cut curves and straight in plastic material as well. Aluminium, non-ferrous metals, absolutely, definitely on a bandsaw. Really quite easy. It's surprising how easy it is to cut. A little bit noisier. Maybe you just got to choose the right blade for the job, which we'll get to in a later video, trust me. But it is definitely something you can do. What you don't cut on a wood cutting bandsaw generally is ferrous metals. So steel, stainless steels, cast irons, that sort of thing. We most definitely have a machine in our range for that, and it's a machine that you can slow the speed down. You've got a variable speed box and you need to just drop that speed just to handle that harder material. So, okay, we've got machines with solid steel, solid spines, good tables, rigid fences, but all important on a bandsaw as well as good blades. And as I said, I will get to blades in later videos. Are the guides, blade guides. We've got the top knob here. This one gives you your tension. It lifts the wheel up and down to release the tension for blade change or maybe a machine at rest. But lift the wheel up via the tension knob to put tension in the blade, so it stays kind of straight and rigid in the cutting area. But you know, on deeper cuts, you know, sometimes that blade just wants to go off. It just wants to follow a piece of grain, maybe a softer grain, or the easier route. The ability to get these guides in just the right place and make it easy as well is really important. So pay close attention to the guides and the ease of guide setup, both at the top and underneath the table. A lot of people forget, maybe you don't even know there's guides underneath that table. And it's important to get both top and bottom guides set correctly to prevent blade movement, blade wander. Okay. So that's an important thing. Guides extraction also. Now, probably like a lot of people, years ago, didn't really consider extraction too much. It's all right, I'll sweep up after. So that sort of thing. Maybe I'll wear a dust mask if I'm cutting anything nasty. You know, we're a lot more conscious and there's a lot more information out there about extraction now. So much so, even on the craft range of machines, we have machines that have 2 extraction outlets. We've got one right up close to the cutting area, and that's linked into another one down the bottom here. So not only are we taking the waste away really close to source, anything that drops down through there into this corner in the bottom of the bottom box, we're drawing it away there as well. So 2 extraction outlets, and, you know, an important thing. Really consider extraction, and extractors will prolong the life of your machine. Really, stop dust getting into places that maybe the dust shouldn't be getting into. Keep your switches clean, keep the motor clean, keep your lungs clean. That's all important, you know. So we've looked at 2 smaller machines. It's the same principles, you know. I cut a lot of 6-inch material. I want to be able to resaw, which is slice a plank down the length. I want to be able to maybe take a piece of something like this old oak burr here, and slice it down the middle, book match it to make a tabletop, resin fill some of these cracks. Now, these machines, it's a little bit over the top, but we've got machines with the capability of doing it. If this is the sort of stuff you've got in mind, you need to consider the depth of cut. You know, a machine like this one at the back here, this big trade number, it's got spare capacity, so we'll handle that pretty easily. All right? Good rigid fence, good rigid table. It's the same thing on all bandsaws. Good rigid table, good rigid fence, easy set guides. All right? Now, it's okay. We've looked at cutting the template out, but what about cutting the main body out? Now this we've done. Oh, this is a project that we've been working on for a little while, not quite finished it yet, but you can see this is quite chunky material. This is 3-inch 75mm material, and so it's quite a big piece as well, so it's got a little bit of weight to it, and we've got some lovely sweeping curves that we've got to follow, a little bit of intricate detail around the ear, as you can see. Now this one was taken to the biggest in the craft range, just really for two reasons. Let me bring you just a bit closer to our craft bandsaw there, the big one at the back. Okay, so obviously with the fence removed, again, you know, you've got that quick lock fence which locks rigid and has adjustment as well. Two screws, 4 screws, gives you the ability to get that fence just moved in line with the blade. So if you do want to cut dead straight, so maybe you want to cut some of these veneers, you want to cut super precise, you might want to do, you know, there's something that I do a lot on a bandsaw, cut some tenons. Alright. Bandsaw's great for cutting tenons as long as it's set up with a good quality, good sharp blade, the right blade for the job, and everything's in line, the fence is in line, tension's correct. So the reason we chose this machine for this sort of job is capacity. Now it's easily got height under the guide. You can see there's more than double the amount of capacity we need there, but what it had, let's drop that down, so your usual position would be, you know, about 20mm above your workpiece. But what it did, it had a big throat. So when I'm cutting through, you know, I'm not going to collide with the body here too much. Alright, and then I can slide on through my cut. Alright, and handle just about anything. I know we're limited on cutting depth, as all bandsaws have a limit to cutting depth, but this one is 200mm on this, so it will easily handle frequently an 80mm, 75mm chunk of timber. Great for a wood turner, I feel, this one, because wood turners, although, you know, I just showed you a blank which is only kind of 60mm, just over 2 inches in thickness. Sometimes they're handling some very thick stuff, and sometimes it's big in diameter too. So they've got a big sweep here and a nice big table to support their workpiece. I mean, that's easily supported. This is a fairly chunky piece. Okay, as you can see, it's easily supported here. So key points. What piece of material, what size of material you're looking to cut? Add a bit of extra capacity, and so, right, I'm cutting a lot of 50mm stuff. Or I better look at a machine with that spare capacity, maybe about 20% more capacity. All right. Do I need the machine to be portable? Well, a lot of machines can be portable. You can get wheel bases, wheel kits for just about everything, you know. Do I need something with a big throat? Do I need quite wide boards, both thick and thin? All right. Do I need a lot of support because some of my material is large? Maybe I need a bigger machine for that. Now, although we go bigger bandsaws, obviously there's a cost involved with this. You know, it's a machine that you're not going to regularly push to its limit of power and capacity. You're going to have spare capacity, so the machine isn't running and just struggling on the odd occasion. It's going to glide through. Absolutely, you've got the confidence that they'll handle everything you've got to throw at it. So solid tables, solid spine, easy set guides, tilt table mechanism, and the trunnion underneath that heavy table is supported well as well. I mean, these, for instance, they've got support behind and in front of that blade, not just behind, potential flex there, so it's supported front and back. Okay? And all the adjustments are easy and very simple to adjust. And so that is just about all we've got time for here. So please, if you like this, if you find it useful, you want to find out more about bandsaws, and as I said, we're going to go through stage by stage, step by step, and I'm going to build your bandsaw knowledge up as we go. Please hit the like button, follow us, subscribe, just to keep in touch with everything that Axminster's doing and all the information that we're trying to bring to you guys. Well, thank you for your time. I've got to go. Cheers now. Bye-bye.